Gather around, everyone, and let me tell you a tale. A tale of utter terror and dismay. A truth so shocking, it could cause even the most stoic of individuals to turn into whimpering children. Let's take a trip down to the depths, deep below, where anyone would dare venture. Beware, viewer. You're in for a scare. Dizzy was the first DLC character released in Season 4, and she's bad. She's really bad. Ever since she released all the way back in October of 2024, she's managed to stay at the bottom of basically everyone's tier lists. And it's not unwarranted. The last time I asked a Dizzy player why she played the character, she looked at me like she was going to burst into tears. But why? Like, fundamentally, she looks fine, and then you dig past the surface only to realize you've been shoveling into shit. Wait, it's Halloween, I mean spooky shit. Well, let's go through it together, shall we? Let's talk about Dizzy's place on the tier list. This gimmick is becoming harder and harder to maintain. To find out what's wrong with the present, we must first look to the past. Dizzy has appeared in every Guilty Gear game since Guilty Gear X, apart from Xrd Sign, but like, who the fuck plays Sign? In the games that people actually kept playing, Dizzy is considered really good. Some players say she's top tier, and the ones who don't still give her a high tier rating. In Plus R and Xrd, Dizzy is a set play character with poor close ranged options. This sounds kind of counterproductive, but being a set play zoner is kind of a Guilty Gear classic. Her general game plan involves playing a strong and oppressive neutral game, getting a knockdown, fish, and then mixing up the opponent with a 2 or 4-way mix-up, then repeating the situation. And by good neutral, I mean good neutral. Dizzy has a lot of projectile summons that move across the screen in different ways. She has scythes that move up and down the screen. She has bubbles that cause the opponent to fly in the air for a free combo. She has fucking laser beams! And she has pillars of fire and ice. All of these tools are extremely useful for zoning out the opponent and getting an easy knockdown. Dizzy is a character who's able to fill the screen with a bunch of crazy bullshit, and then using it to set up strong set play. Not to mention, in both of these games, she has a double air dash, which makes her extremely good on Oki. Because of course it does. But also makes her extremely hard to actually catch. Dizzy pesters you from full screen, runs away until she gets a knockdown, and then suddenly she turns into Milia. We're not at the scary bit yet, why are you crying? When Dizzy inevitably came to Strive, Arxis decided they needed to change some stuff about her. It's extremely common in Guilty Gear Strive for characters to have things that they don't necessarily need for their game plan to be stripped away from them. This is generally known as streamlining the characters, or if you're uncreative, strivifying them. This was notoriously done at the start of the game with Riot Stomp on Soul Bad Guy, a move that I heard about constantly when Strive was released, and then I've literally never heard about it since. Perhaps it's haunting someone else. Not my problem. Some characters lost a few small things. Some characters had their entire kits reworked. But what changed about Dizzy? Well, to begin with, fish was just changed to 2 inputs, and it's only the ice fish now. You can do a high fish or a low fish. There is no laser beam follow-up. Fish also only hits once now instead of hitting 3 times. Ice Dagger has been completely removed. Only Flame Dagger remains. Fire Pillar is also completely gone. Ice Pillar is now the only pillar. She doesn't have a double air dash anymore. She doesn't have any of her scythes. She does have a giant horizontal hitting move called Mikel's Sword. Oh fuck, that's a Justice move. She gained Wings of Light, an unblockable attack that consumes Dizzy's meter and does a lot of damage. Okay, technically she gained this, but it was also sort of part of her moveset in her boss mode in like the XX games, but like, don't worry about that. She also gained a follow-up from Ice Pillar, now being able to make the floor completely covered in ice that affects people's movements. Now this sounds reasonable on paper. Jesus fucking Christ. This sounds reasonable on paper, since she gained around as much as she lost. Technically, she also lost Bubble, but her jump D is now just Bubble, so But if you look at the things that she currently has, there's one slight problem. What do you do with all of this? Like, okay, let's look at half of her game plan. Setting up Okizeme. Normally in the older games, you would put fish on the opponent when they were getting up, the fish would hit them 3 times, and you'd use your double air dash in order to get a really strong mix-up. Now, however, fish only hits once, meaning that the opponent is locked down for less time, and you have no double air dash. Not to mention, the air dash is much slower in this game, meaning that her Okizeme isn't as potent as it was before. She can still get Oki, she just needs to work a lot harder for it. Okay, well, how about zoning? She doesn't have her laser beams anymore, but Miko Sword seemingly fills a similar spot. Well, Miko Sword isn't really as good as the lasers, because while the lasers lasted a decent amount of time and covered multiple areas mid-screen, Miko Sword is one big hit, and it's a high-hitting mid, which means that it's interactable with by the opponent. When it does hit as well, it resets the opponent full screen and doesn't really give Dizzy a very good knockdown. Meaning that when you hit it, you can't really just set up Oki from it. You can in the corner, but you have to get them to the corner first. Ice Floor does seem like a pretty good zoning tool though. It keeps people out and makes slower characters to have a really fucking hard time actually getting to Dizzy on the floor. While Ice Fuel is out, it only affects ground movement, meaning that if you jump, you're completely free to still air dash. Granted, this is a bit of a limitation that Dizzy can easily work around since she can just anti-air you, but it doesn't directly stop people who want to get in from getting in. Fire Dagger's a decent pressure tool. She didn't really use pressure that much in the older Guilty Gear games. It's not like she didn't do it at all, but, you know, maybe she could lean more into being a pressure character. And, yeah, it is a decent tool. Apart from the fact that the counterplay is pretty easy to deal with, and the kind of things that she can do after it don't really give her an amazing reward from it. What about Wings of Light? Wings of Light seems really good. It's unblockable, unscaled damage. It's just gonna do a shit ton. And yeah, it looks pretty good on like a Twitter clip, but it takes 10 full seconds to activate, and it disappears if Dizzy gets hit or if she takes a throw, meaning that it's extremely fragile. Wings of Light will not last Dizzy very long. The majority of times that people activate Wings of Light, they lose it pretty quickly. And she doesn't have the tools to keep the opponent away for long enough to not deal with all of this. Wings of Light sounds pretty cool, and there are definitely things that you can do to make it a lot better, but generally, a match that you win with Wings of Light is a match that you were going to win anyway. With all of this combined, Dizzy's general game plan is... she kinda wants to zone you out and set up an Oki situation, but her zoning tools aren't really that good, and her Oki tools from further ends of the screen really aren't that good. She has the tools for Oki, but you need to be in a very specific situation for them to actually work. And even then, they're nowhere near as strong as someone, say, like Milia, who's really designed for Okizeme. Her pressure game's kind of weak, and her Wings of Light is just a really bad gimmick. The more that you just look at this character, the more that you realize she doesn't really have a good, strong wing condition. A lot of characters in Strive are defined by very good wing conditions. Things that they can get into either really easily and give them a good time about it, or things that they can set up over long periods of time and just absolutely obliterate you with. Dizzy has neither of these. Even a full setup Dizzy with an ice floor, 2 fish, and a fire projectile on the way isn't that scary. So, what are the devs gonna do about it? Well, Dizzy has already received a few buffs, but they haven't exactly been enough to bring her up from being a low tier. Her giant ice pillar now lasting longer definitely helps at locking people down for a little bit and gives you an easier time setting up ice floor, but it doesn't really counter any of the other stuff. If I was trying to fix Dizzy, and I'm not, I would pick a direction that I would want Dizzy to go in and work on that. Maybe I want her to be a set play monster, so I give her back her double air dash, as well as giving Fish more attacks, but then nerf her zoning tools, make Ice Floor not last as long, make Mikel Sword more reactable, stuff like that. Or I'd want her to be more of a zoner. I'd make the Ice Floor last longer and give Dizzy more things to do about it. I'd make the Air Fish better. I'd make Miko Sword better. I'd lean into more of these things. Alternatively though, they could just buff her zoning and her set play. Like, they can do both. Some people may be thinking, oh, well, that's impossible for Strive because Strive is this kind of way. And for that, I tell you that you're wrong! Strive already has a very good set play zoner who has really good pressure sequences, being Asuka. Asuka is able to set up really devastating Okizeme by using specific cards. He's able to put a lot of cubes onto you, force you to block, and then teleport, literally, left, right, between you and force you to guess a mix-up. If set play zoning isn't possible in Strive, then why the fuck is he here? Granted, Asuka is a much more complicated character, but I don't think just buffing Dizzy to the point where her stuff actually works would make her break the game. This is called the Unbuffable low tier because the developers are scared to actually buff her. If they just made her things work better, I genuinely think Dizzy could be viable. But right now, you're better just picking any other character. I hope you enjoyed this spooky episode of Gecko Squirrel, which I definitely didn't just like have a normal script and turn it into a Halloween special. Ooh, make sure to subscribe. Oh, I must away. Ooh.